Happiness is a dream, a fleeting illusion, a fragile mirage that humans have been taught to pursue since childhood. It is soft, comforting, and banal, promising warmth and contentment while concealing the true nature of life, a world defined by struggle, conflict, and the will to dominate. Those who chase happiness often settle into mediocrity, seeking comfort at the expense of greatness. They desire serenity, security, and approval, and in doing so, surrender the raw, tumultuous energy that propels life itself. True life, the life of the extraordinary individual, does not reside in tranquility or contentment. It resides in the pursuit of power, the relentless assertion of one's will, and the overcoming of weakness, both within and without. Power is not merely domination over others. It is the mastery of oneself, the cultivation of strength, and the ability to shape reality according to one's vision. To seek power is to embrace the chaos of existence, to accept the inevitability of suffering, and to transform adversity into fuel for growth. Happiness, by contrast, is a passive state, reliant upon external conditions and ephemeral circumstances. It is a surrender to comfort, a refusal to confront life's inherent struggle. Only by seeking power can one transcend the ordinary, confront the abyss, and sculpt one's destiny in defiance of fate, society, and the we-willed. The pursuit of power demands courage, for it is not a path of safety. One must confront resistance at every turn, within oneself and in the world. One must wrestle with fear, doubt, and the weight of mortality. It is through this confrontation that the individual discovers strength, insight, and the capacity to act decisively. Happiness offers only fleeting satisfaction, but power demands engagement, intensity, and the acknowledgement that life is inherently conflictual. The individual who seeks power is alive in a way that the complacent, happiness-seeking masses cannot imagine, for he moves through life with purpose, intensity, and relentless awareness of his own potential. Power is creation. It is the art of imposing form upon chaos, of asserting one's vision in the world without apology or hesitation. Those who pursue happiness limit themselves to passive reception, waiting for conditions to align, for comfort to arrive, and for others to approve. The individual who seeks power, by contrast, shapes circumstances, influences outcomes, and demands recognition of his presence and capability. To live fully is to engage in this act of creation, to exercise will, courage, and intellect to assert oneself in every sphere of life. Moreover, seeking power is the path to authenticity. Happiness is a veneer, a socially conditioned response to the banalities of existence. It asks for conformity, for the quieting of ambition, for the avoidance of discomfort. Power, in contrast, requires self-knowledge, self-overcoming, and the willingness to confront both one's strengths and weaknesses. It is a dynamic state, always in motion, requiring vigilance, reflection, and the continual assertion of the self against inertia, expectation, and mediocrity. To seek power is to embrace life's totality, the beauty, the terror, the triumph, and the suffering. It is to recognize that existence is not a garden to be tended for comfort, but a battlefield to be navigated with skill, courage, and intensity. The pursuit of power transforms adversity into opportunity, weakness into strength, and chaos into a canvas upon which the individual can inscribe his own meaning. Finally, the pursuit of power elevates the human spirit beyond the petty concerns of fleeting pleasure and illusory contentment. It demands engagement, mastery, and the relentless striving that defines greatness. Happiness may be sweet, but it is weak. Power is life itself, raw and unyielding, demanding that one rise, act, and assert. To seek power is to seek the highest expression of one's will, the affirmation of existence in its fullest, most uncompromising form. Happiness is a dream, a fleeting illusion, a fragile mirage that humans have been taught to pursue since childhood. It is soft, comforting and banal, promising warmth and contentment while concealing the true nature of life. A world defined by struggle, conflict, and the will to dominate. Those who chase happiness often settle into mediocrity, seeking comfort at the expense of greatness. They desire serenity, security, and approval, and in doing so, surrender the raw, tumultuous energy that propels life itself. True life, the life of the extraordinary individual, does not reside in tranquility or contentment. It resides in the pursuit of power, the relentless assertion of one's will, and the overcoming of weakness, both within and without. Power is not merely domination over others. It is the mastery of oneself, the cultivation of strength, and the ability to shape reality according to one's vision. To seek power is to embrace the chaos of existence, to accept the inevitability of suffering, and to transform adversity into fuel for growth. Happiness, by contrast, is a passive state, reliant upon external conditions and ephemeral circumstances. It is a surrender to comfort, a refusal to confront life's inherent struggle. Only by seeking power can one transcend the ordinary, confront the abyss, and sculpt one's destiny in defiance of fate, society, and the we-willed. The pursuit of power demands courage, for it is not a path of safety. One must confront resistance at every turn, within oneself and in the world. One must wrestle with fear, doubt, and the weight of mortality. It is through this confrontation that the individual discovers strength, insight, and the capacity to act decisively. Happiness offers only fleeting satisfaction, but power demands engagement, intensity, and the acknowledgement that life is inherently conflictual. The individual who seeks power is alive in a way that the complacent, happiness-seeking masses cannot imagine, for he moves through life with purpose, intensity, and relentless awareness of his own potential. Power is creation. It is the art of imposing form upon chaos, of asserting one's vision in the world without apology or hesitation. Those who pursue happiness limit themselves to passive reception, waiting for conditions to align, for comfort to arrive, and for others to approve. The individual who seeks power, by contrast, shapes circumstances, influences outcomes, and demands recognition of his presence and capability. To live fully is to engage in this act of creation, to exercise will, courage, and intellect to assert oneself in every sphere of life. Moreover, seeking power is the path to authenticity. Happiness is a veneer, a socially conditioned response to the banalities of existence. It asks for conformity, for the quieting of ambition, for the avoidance of discomfort. Power, in contrast, requires self-knowledge, self-overcoming, and the willingness to confront both one's strengths and weaknesses. It is a dynamic state, always in motion, requiring vigilance, reflection, and the continual assertion of the self against inertia, expectation, and mediocrity. To seek power is to embrace life's totality, the beauty, the terror, the triumph, and the suffering. It is to recognize that existence is not a garden to be tended for comfort, but a battlefield to be navigated with skill, courage, and intensity. The pursuit of power transforms adversity into opportunity, weakness into strength, and chaos into a canvas upon which the individual can inscribe his own meaning. Finally, the pursuit of power elevates the human spirit beyond the petty concerns of fleeting pleasure and illusory contentment. It demands engagement, mastery, and the relentless striving that defines greatness. Happiness may be sweet, but it is weak. Power is life itself, raw and unyielding, demanding that one rise, act, and assert. To seek power is to seek the highest expression of one's will, the affirmation of existence in its fullest, most uncompromising form. Happiness is a fragile and deceptive pursuit, a pursuit that softens the mind and dulls the spirit. Men have been conditioned from infancy to chase it, to consider comfort, pleasure, and contentment the ultimate goals of life, Yet in reality, happiness is a passive state, dependent upon circumstances beyond one's control. It is a mirror reflecting external conditions rather than a measure of inner strength or vitality. Those who devote themselves to happiness seek safety, approval, and tranquility, and in doing so, they shrink from the true nature of existence, which is defined not by serenity but by struggle, challenge, and the unrelenting assertion of will. Happiness lulls men into complacency, encouraging them to avoid risk, to conform, and to surrender the raw, dynamic energy that drives life. In the attempt to secure fleeting pleasure, they neglect the development of power, the cultivation of strength, and the mastery of themselves. The pursuit of happiness demands avoidance. One seeks comfort and security, turning from challenges that might threaten ease or provoke suffering. Yet life itself is indifferent to comfort. It does not bend to desires for safety or peace. By prioritizing happiness, one trains the mind to flee from intensity, to recoil from adversity, and to shrink from the trials that forge greatness. True life, the life that leaves a mark upon the world and realizes potential, cannot exist in a state of avoidance. To chase happiness is to chase shadows, to seek warmth in a cold world where only the strong, the bold, and the willing thrive. Happiness is also fleeting. Its presence is temporary, and its absence is inevitable. One may find joy in a moment, contentment in a brief circumstance, but life's flux ensures that no state is permanent. By anchoring one's existence to such impermanent sensations, the individual subjects himself to continual disappointment and distraction. Happiness becomes a chain, tethering the spirit to trivialities and illusions while the world demands engagement, struggle, and the assertion of will. It is the siren of ease, luring men into weakness, conformity, and mediocrity, and away from the path of power, creation, and self-overcoming. Moreover, the pursuit of happiness diminishes ambition. When comfort and pleasure become primary goals, the individual avoids risk, shuns conflict, and sacrifices greatness for tranquility. Happiness encourages the timid and restrains the audacious for the highest achievements in life, those that shape reality, influence others, and affirm existence. Require exposure to danger, discomfort, and uncertainty. To seek happiness is to value safety over intensity, comfort over creation, and passivity over mastery. In contrast, the pursuit of power demands engagement with life in all its fullness. It requires courage, self-discipline, and the willingness to confront suffering, weakness, and chaos. Power is dynamic, active, and enduring. It cultivates strength, sharpens perception, and develops mastery over the self and the world. Happiness is passive, dependent, and superficial. Power is active, self-determined, and transformative. Those who devote themselves to happiness shrink from life's intensity, while those who pursue power embrace it, harness it, and shape it into a testament of their will. Thus, happiness is an illusion for the weak-minded, a lure for the timid, and a distraction from true human excellence. It is the measure of the shallow spirit, content with comfort and ease, while the world itself rewards those who assert, struggle, and create. To prioritize happiness is to surrender vitality. To seek power is to affirm existence. The individual who understands this does not chase fleeting pleasure, but harnesses the energy of life itself, transforming struggle into mastery, adversity into opportunity, and existence into the expression of unrelenting will. Power begins within. It is first and foremost the mastery of oneself. To seek power is to cultivate discipline, courage, and awareness, for no external authority can be sustained without internal command. A man who cannot govern his impulses, control his desires, and regulate his emotions will always be at the mercy of circumstance, of the whims of others, and of his own weaknesses. True power is not the superficial dominion over people or possessions, but the deep, abiding control of one's mind, body, and spirit, a mastery that allows one to act decisively, unflinchingly, and without hesitation in the face of adversity. Self-mastery is the foundation of all influence. A man who understands his strengths and weaknesses can direct his energy purposefully, choosing when to act and when to restrain himself. Impulsive action, driven by fleeting desires or unexamined emotions, leads to miscalculation, vulnerability, and loss. In contrast, the disciplined individual anticipates consequences, weighs risks, and aligns action with long-term objectives. This internal sovereignty communicates strength to the world. Others sense the self-controlled presence, recognize authority, and instinctively grant deference. Mastery of self is thus both protective and persuasive, securing power without the need for constant assertion or conflict. Courage is inseparable from internal power. To confront life honestly, to embrace struggle, and to endure discomfort requires bravery. Happiness. Seekers shrink from challenges, avoiding risk and retreating from adversity. The pursuit of power demands engagement, for true strength is forged through confrontation with difficulty, opposition, and even suffering. Courage allows the individual to act in accordance with principle and vision, rather than succumbing to fear, desire, or social pressure. It transforms potential passivity into decisive action and signals to others that the individual is unshakable, resolute, and worthy of respect. Awareness, the third pillar of internal power, encompasses perception of both self and world. The self-aware individual understands internal motives, emotional patterns, and vulnerabilities. This insight allows for regulation of behavior, strategic planning, and conscious decision-making. Awareness of the external world, the ambitions, desires, and weaknesses of others, enables anticipation of challenges, the identification of opportunities, and the navigation of social dynamics with precision. Power emerges where self-mastery intersects with situational awareness, producing an individual capable of decisive, informed, and effective action. Furthermore, self-mastery cultivates resilience. Life is unpredictable, and external circumstances will inevitably test the limits of endurance and patience. The individual who has mastered himself can withstand adversity without succumbing to despair or distraction, turning obstacles into catalysts for growth. Each trial strengthens control, sharpens judgment, and enhances authority. Power, therefore, is not a static possession but a dynamic force, continuously reinforced by internal discipline, courage, and awareness. Ultimately, seeking power begins by conquering oneself. External dominion is meaningless if the mind and spirit are subject to weakness, fear, or indulgence. Mastery of self transforms desire into purpose, chaos into strategy, and potential into realized capability. Only by cultivating this internal authority can one navigate the world with strength, influence, and the uncompromising presence that commands recognition and respect. The pursuit of power is thus the pursuit of self-mastery, and it is through this internal sovereignty that the individual transcends the fleeting illusion of happiness to embrace the full intensity and potential of life. Embracing conflict and struggle is essential to the pursuit of power, for life itself is a battlefield, and the avoidance of adversity is the path of the weak. Those who seek happiness flee from discomfort, fearing confrontation, risk, and the intensity of existence. In doing so, they relinquish opportunity, growth, and the assertion of their will. Power, by contrast, demands engagement with life in its rawest form, its chaos, its opposition, and its challenges. To seek power is to welcome struggle as a catalyst, to recognize conflict not as an obstacle, but as the medium through which strength, mastery, and influence are forged. Struggle refines character. When faced with difficulty, the individual is compelled to act decisively, to test limits, and to confront both internal and external weakness. Pain, resistance, and challenge reveal the depth of one's resolve and illuminate the dimensions of one's capabilities. The pursuit of power requires that one confront these trials head-on, transforming adversity into fuel for growth. Those who shrink from struggle may achieve temporary comfort, but they remain passive, inert, and untested, their potential stifled by the very avoidance that promises ease. Conflict with others is equally instructive. Social interactions, competition, and opposition provide arenas in which strength, strategy, and will can be exercised. A man who fears confrontation is easily manipulated, overlooked, or subjugated, for others sense weakness and exploit it. To engage fully, to confront opposition with clarity and courage, is to assert authority and command respect. Conflict is not merely a challenge, it is a proving ground in which power is recognized, reinforced, and expanded. Moreover, struggle teaches self-reliance. When comfort and happiness are sought, one depends on favorable circumstances, external validation, and avoidance of hardship. The pursuit of power cultivates independence, resilience, and initiative, for the individual learns to act decisively in the face of uncertainty, to overcome obstacles, and to assert will without reliance upon ease or approval. Each challenge navigated strengthens autonomy, reinforcing the internal authority that is the foundation of true power. Adversity also illuminates clarity of purpose. In the absence of struggle, motives, desires, and values may remain vague or untested. Conflict forces decisions, prioritizes objectives, and sharpens strategy. The pursuit of power thrives in this clarity, channeling energy toward goals with precision and intensity. Weak men seek comfort. Strong men embrace the trials that define their path and solidify their presence in the world. Finally, struggle cultivates the capacity to transform life itself. Adversity, resistance, and challenge are the raw materials of creation, the forces against which the individual asserts vision, skill, and will. Happiness offers only temporary satisfaction. Struggle produces lasting influence and enduring authority. The pursuit of power is inseparable from the embrace of conflict, for without challenge, mastery is hollow, influence is uncertain, and the human spirit remains untested. In embracing struggle, one harnesses life itself, converting resistance into strength, opposition into strategy, and conflict into the forge of unassailable power. Creation through power is the essence of the extraordinary life, for to seek power is to assert one's will upon reality, to impose form upon chaos, and to shape the world according to one's vision. Those who pursue happiness accept the world as it is, waiting for comfort, fortune, or approval to descend upon them. They are passive observers, content with circumstance and dependent upon the caprices of fate. The individual who seeks power, by contrast, transforms circumstance into opportunity, influence into authority, and vision into tangible reality. To create through power is to act decisively, strategically, and without hesitation, bending the world, not to fleeting desire, but to the relentless assertion of will. Power, as creation, demands awareness of opportunity. The world offers challenges, obstacles, and openings alike, and the discerning individual recognizes each as material to be shaped. Whereas happiness, seekers shy from adversity, the powerful individual grasps that challenge is the medium of creation, that resistance is the raw material from which influence and authority are forged. Every obstacle becomes a test of ingenuity, every conflict a stage for asserting competence, and every limitation a canvas upon which vision may be inscribed. Creation through power is not passive. It is dynamic, active, and continuous, requiring engagement with life in its entirety. Moreover, creation through power requires decisiveness. To act with hesitation is to forfeit opportunity, to leave influence unrealized, and to allow others to shape one's circumstances. Those who seek power cultivate clarity of thought, precision of action and the courage to impose their will without delay. This decisiveness communicates authority, deters opposition, and ensures that potential is transformed into reality. Creation is not abstract. It is the tangible expression of energy, skill, and intent made manifest in the world, recognized by others and resistant to reversal. Strategic vision underpins creation through power. One must anticipate consequences, align resources, and orchestrate action to achieve lasting effect. Influence is amplified not merely by brute force, but by understanding the currents of human behavior, the dynamics of circumstance, and the levers of authority. The individual who creates through power manipulates circumstance with foresight, ensuring that action produces not only immediate effect, but enduring impact. Creation, in this sense, is both art and strategy, a deliberate shaping of life's raw materials into forms that reflect will, skill, and mastery. Furthermore, creation through power elevates the individual beyond mere survival or transient pleasure. Happiness offers fleeting satisfaction, but power enables transformation, innovation, and the realization of potential. It allows one to leave a mark upon the world, to assert individuality, and to cultivate influence that endures beyond immediate circumstance. Through power, life becomes an act of artistry, a continuous construction of identity, capability, and authority. Ultimately, creation through power distinguishes the extraordinary from the ordinary. While happiness, seekers drift, reacting to events and accommodating circumstance, the powerful act, shape, and impose their vision upon the world. To seek power is to create is to assert life itself with purpose, intensity, and mastery. Through this process, the individual transcends the passive illusion of happiness and becomes an agent of destiny, sculpting reality in accordance with the inexorable force of his will. Power, as authenticity, is the embodiment of self-overcoming, for to pursue power is to confront one's limitations, desires, and fears without compromise. Happiness is a veil, a socially conditioned mask that encourages conformity, avoidance of discomfort, and surrender to external approval. It asks for ease, compliance, and the quieting of ambition. Those who chase happiness are content with reflection and imitation. They adopt the beliefs, behaviors, and values dictated by others, avoiding the challenge of confronting their true selves. Power, in contrast, requires rigorous honesty, self-examination, and the willingness to face both strengths and weaknesses, embracing the totality of one's nature without evasion. Authenticity through power demands courage. The individual must acknowledge the drives, contradictions, and shadows within his own mind, for to ignore them is to surrender control to hidden impulses. Self-deception may grant temporary comfort, but it undermines mastery and leaves one vulnerable to manipulation by circumstance, others, or even one's own unexamined fears. By confronting reality unflinchingly, one cultivates integrity of action, clarity of purpose, and alignment between inner truth and outward expression. Power thrives where authenticity exists. Without it, authority becomes superficial, influence fragile, and mastery incomplete. Moreover, power as authenticity requires independence from the approval of others. Happiness. Seekers depend upon external validation, measuring their worth by comfort, acceptance, or social praise. The pursuit of power transforms the individual into a sovereign agent, determined and guided by principle rather than popularity. Authority becomes a product of competence, decisiveness, and vision, not concession to external expectation. This independence strengthens presence, deters manipulation, and communicates to the world that the individual's dignity and direction are unassailable. Self-overcoming is central to authenticity. To seek power is to recognize and challenge weaknesses, fears, and habitual patterns, converting limitation into opportunity and struggle into growth. Every obstacle encountered, every fear confronted, every limitation transcended becomes a testament to the individual's mastery over himself. Happiness offers no such demand. It encourages avoidance, accommodation, and the quieting of ambition. Power, through authenticity, transforms life into a process of continuous refinement, self-expression, and assertion of will. Finally, authenticity through power fosters clarity of identity and purpose. By stripping away the pursuit of comfort and pleasure, one confronts the essence of desire, the structure of ambition, and the nature of existence itself. The individual becomes aware of his capacities, his motives, and the path he must carve to assert his vision. In doing so, he achieves alignment between internal intent and external action, between thought and deed, cultivating an authority that is both genuine and enduring. In essence, power as authenticity is the rejection of illusion and the embrace of self-overcoming. It transforms the individual from a passive seeker of comfort into an active shaper of destiny, ensuring that action, influence, and mastery arise from truth rather than compromise. Through this authenticity, power becomes not only external authority but internal sovereignty, the ultimate realization of human potential and will. Life as totality demands the embrace of every aspect of existence, joy and suffering, triumph and failure, creation and destruction. Those who seek happiness attempt to curate their experience, avoiding discomfort, conflict, and the intensity of reality. But life is not a garden to be tended for comfort. It is a vast, chaotic, and often cruel arena, indifferent to desire or expectation. To pursue power is to engage with life in its entirety, to confront every dimension of existence fully, and to transform experience into mastery rather than mere consumption. The pursuit of power requires recognition that suffering is not an anomaly to be avoided, but a necessary component of growth and self-assertion. Happiness. Seekers flee from pain, frustration, and challenge, attempting to maintain a state of temporary equilibrium. Yet suffering is the crucible in which strength, insight, and resilience are forged. By embracing adversity, the individual gains not only skill but understanding of himself, his environment, and the dynamics of influence. Conflict, hardship, and struggle are not barriers to life, but its essential medium. Power emerges from the capacity to engage fully with these forces. Furthermore, life as totality entails acknowledgement of impermanence and uncertainty. Happiness is fragile, dependent upon circumstance, and fleeting by nature. Power, in contrast, flourishes amidst change, for it is rooted in mastery and adaptability. The individual who seeks power understands that permanence is an illusion, that control is always partial, and that the world is a field of constant flux. By engaging fully, responding decisively, and shaping outcomes where possible, one asserts authority not over comfort, but over consequence, transforming unpredictability into opportunity. Engagement with the totality of life also encompasses creativity and influence. The individual who seeks power does not merely survive circumstances, but imposes vision, crafts reality, and leaves a tangible mark upon the world. Life is not a passive experience to be enjoyed, but an active canvas upon which the individual exercises will, intellect, and skill. By interacting with the full spectrum of experience, the pleasures, the dangers, the chaos, the individual becomes a force, a presence, and a creator, transcending the superficial pursuit of happiness in favor of enduring impact. Finally, embracing life as totality cultivates resilience and authenticity. The individual learns to confront fear, adapt to adversity, and act without dependence on comfort or approval. Power arises from the integration of all experiences, strength and weakness, triumph and failure, into a coherent assertion of will. Happiness offers momentary satisfaction, but only the pursuit of power through full engagement with existence yields enduring mastery, influence, and freedom. In essence, life as totality demands that one seek power over happiness, for it is through engagement with every dimension of reality that the individual attains mastery over self, circumstance, and destiny. To embrace all of life is to transcend passivity, to transform challenge into strength, and to assert existence with intensity, vision, and authority. Those who pursue only happiness remain passive observers, while those who seek power become architects of their own destiny. Power transcends happiness because it is enduring, self-determined, and transformative, whereas happiness is fleeting, dependent, and passive. Those who chase comfort measure life by pleasure, contentment, or approval, but these are ephemeral, contingent upon circumstance and the whims of others. True fulfillment, the fulfillment of potential, comes not from the ephemeral joys of ease, but from the exercise of will, the mastery of self, and the assertion of authority over one's environment. To seek power is to embrace life's intensity, to convert struggle into mastery, and to act decisively in the face of uncertainty. Transcendence of happiness begins with self-reliance. Power arises from independence, from the ability to act without dependence on external validation or fleeting circumstances. The individual who seeks power cultivates skill, discipline, and courage, internalizing authority so that external events cannot diminish influence. Happiness seekers, by contrast, tether themselves to circumstance, relying on comfort, fortune, or approval for validation. Power liberates the spirit, rendering it autonomous, capable, and unshakable regardless of fortune or opinion. Moreover, power is cumulative and generative, producing enduring influence. Happiness offers only transient satisfaction, leaving the individual vulnerable to erosion of circumstance, desire, or loss. The pursuit of power transforms adversity into opportunity, conflict into growth, and challenge into mastery. Each act of assertion, each conquest of limitation, each application of will strengthens authority and expands influence, creating a lasting imprint upon both self and world. Happiness, in contrast, leaves no legacy, no measure of capability, and no enduring mark of action. Power also aligns with the truth of existence. Life is not a passive experience designed for comfort. It is struggle, conflict, and transformation. Happiness may shield from this reality, but power requires engagement with it. By embracing the intensity of life, the individual discovers capacity, resilience, and purpose. To act, to shape, to overcome. This is the essence of existence, and only through power can it be fully realized. Happiness is a distraction from the demands of reality. Power is the fulfillment of those demands, the assertion of will in accordance with life's nature. Finally, the transcendence of happiness through power affirms the individual's sovereignty. Power allows one to act decisively, to impose vision, and to cultivate mastery over both self and circumstance. It produces clarity, authenticity, and strength that happiness alone cannot provide. While happiness is temporary, contingent, and externally influenced, power is durable, self-generated, and transformative. It is through the pursuit of power that the individual achieves the highest expression of existence, asserting influence, creating impact, and mastering life itself. In essence, power transcends happiness because it is enduring, self-determined, and generative. Happiness is ephemeral, fragile, and dependent. The pursuit of power is the pursuit of life in its fullest intensity, the assertion of will over circumstance, and the transformation of challenge into mastery. To seek power is to rise above the illusions of comfort and fleeting pleasure, embracing existence with strength, purpose, and unyielding authority.